This is The Healthy Healer, where true voice is your medicine. This is where we help doctors and other healers navigate through the challenging times by learning from the best minds in the healing industry. Laugh, cry, and be surprised. It's entertainment, education, and inspiration so you can continue to be the unique and amazing healer you were destined to be. Welcome to humanity. Welcome to The Healthy Healer with Dr. Fred.
Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Fred, and welcome to my weekly short on the heels of the podcast we just had with Daniel Gospodarek. So, Daniel was a very inspiring conversation, speaking to what had happened to him when he was just a spry, strong young man who got involved in a terrific car accident in his senior year and was left with what then became a very significant traumatic brain injury. He was in a coma for a few days, and when he woke up, he had another couple weeks to spend in the hospital before he went on to rehab, and now has become over time an exquisite healer, someone who is geared towards delivering his services to those other people in the world who have been traumatized by and left with some form of deficit or injury as a function of that trauma. In other words, a traumatic brain injury. So Daniel got his from a car accident, and some people get their trauma from other ways, sometimes in sports, sometimes from falls, sometimes from fights. There's a lot of ways to get injured. And sometimes those injuries lead to deficits in our capacity to think or in our capacity to move our body, which then get qualified as a traumatic brain injury. One of the interfaces that Daniel very interestingly put forth is this idea of the interface between a traumatic brain injury and severe mental illness. In both cases, there is a great propensity for one to lead to the other. And in some cases, one does lead to the other. So traumatic brain injuries might often get diagnosed as being a primary psychiatric problem if people don't do an important history taking upon evaluation. So if you're somebody who knows somebody who's been involved in some degree of trauma, or if you're somebody who also has had some trauma and you're wondering, how can you pay it forward? How can you become an exquisite healer? How can you triumph over your past? Daniel is a wonderful example of that. He's kind of like a hallmark, a poster child for what it takes to transmute and transform and alter who he was so that he can step forward into being the clinician, the healer that he now is. He's fully and totally committed and dedicated to bringing his services forward to those people who have either struggled with the aftermath of a traumatic brain injury, or in many cases, who simply have mental illness or severe mental illness and are locked up behind closed doors of hospitals or at times jails, where he has done some work to bring some of his therapy and some of his empathy forward. He is trained in EMDR, soon to be certified. And one of the things that I'd like to say is I know a lot of people who go into the therapeutic health field, who go into the healing field because they themselves have gone through a whole lot of healing. For me, I would say that's a very big part of why I became a healer. I was a scattered young man. I had a lot of issues, not knowing what direction I wanted to go. And I was in a lot of therapy early on in my high school years, truth be told. And I was, on the fringes of society at times. Now, the truth is, I found my way to some degree of being social because I was doing things that my friends who were also kind of wayward were doing. So there was a lot of maybe drugs or concerts or, delinquency or dereliction, I'd say, early on in my life. But in order to become a stable, contributing member of society, I've had to go through my own level of therapy, my own level of transformation, my own level of redesigning and reconfiguring my life to realize what's important for me in this short time that I'm here. You too can do that. Basically, if you've been traumatized and if you're alive this long and can hear me, you have been traumatized at various levels in your life. You can transmute that into being a triumphant healer yourself. In fact, you probably are doing that. If you take a look at the number one or number two or the multiple traumas you've had in your life, you can see that it has altered your life. It has given you a direction where you now step into who you're being as a function of the trauma that you have experienced and the recovery and healing that you've gone through. Simply by being that person, you have triumphed over the past. And because of that triumph, you, in fact, in your interactions with others, have everything it takes to be a true and honest healer. You don't have to have a degree to be a healer. I just ask that you be authentic and be open and honest and listening and curious when you deliver your message, because that's what healers do. Remember, all people really just want is to be heard and seen for who they are. So, as a healer, you can be seen, but more than that, you can see others and appreciate the trauma that has led to their identity formation and the trauma that is now still presenting itself after the fact as a challenge or an obstacle to getting the life that they want. So, I invite you to go from being traumatized to being the exquisite, triumphant healer that you really are. And in order to do that, listen to the podcast and learn how Daniel did it, because there is a whole lot there that can be very inspiring and something to launch from. It was a great honor to interview Daniel and a great honor to leave this short for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you're enjoying The Healthy Healer. If you are, I invite you to like and share and comment and subscribe to this channel so that you can be the first on the block to get the next episode. This is how we grow as podcasters, and I thank you for being a listener to this point, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye for now.